What's up, everybody? How are you today? We're going to talk about the psychology of Canelo versus Crawford. Like I said before the fight, if it's your first time here, it's your boy Rick. I predict fights. Most of the time I'm right. A lot of people don't give me credit, but whatever. You'll see on this channel, all the receipts are there, and I'm going to tell you why. A lot of people were talking about going into this fight, and I told you before the fight what was going to happen, and it all came true exactly if you go back and see all the receipts, where all these experts, these fight experts, boxing experts, I use that term loosely, got it wrong. Everyone's talking about Canelo and how big he was, his power before going into this fight, but they didn't realize that boxing is pressure, and it's mental pressure, and how Canelo was broken by Crawford mentally, and the blueprint was always there. It was there with Floyd Mayweather. If you look back in the day, you could watch that fight and see literally, yes, Crawford is not Floyd, but you could see the blueprint to beating a very primed, young Canelo, where a lot of fighters like Tito Trinidad were coming up, and a lot of others, a young Ali, Cassius Clay, whoever else, Mike Tyson. They were in their primes, and they were ferocious, and they couldn't lose, but Canelo lost back then. But the great marketing behind Canelo made you forget. They made you disillusioned as a Canelo fan. They matched him against people he should beat, and then he ran into another obstacle, and that was GGG. And a lot of people didn't need 3 judges to tell you that GGG won that fight. But the disrespect with a lot of boxing is, and the corruption, alleged corruption in boxing is, you'll have a Canelo Álvarez type fighter worth a lot of money. GGG at the time wasn't as marketable. I said it all on his channel. So how is he going to get a win on him? And basically that was a loss, just to draw alone. In other words, you have to beat Canelo so bad. A lot of these fighters where there was draws on Canelo's career, you have to beat him so bad and make it look so blatantly obvious in most cases, where they had to give the decision win. Beevil, of course, Crawford, Floyd, arguably Lara, you saw the fight. A lot of people have issues with the draws on his record. But what the deal is here is that if you look at the psychology going into this fight, you people as boxing fans have to realize when a fighter has already lost. We went over this before, and I broke this down, and I told you with Spence. If you look at Errol Spence, who was an amazing fighter all in his own right, great champion, really, really, really good. You could see him deteriorate mentally during the fight. He was deteriorating, and you could see in the second knockdown in that fight, when Crawford was hurting him and beating him, he was like, oh my God, I lost this fight. But the mistake, even more, why he got knocked out, is you got to give him credit, because he just went further than another fighter would go. That is Canelo, what you saw with Crawford. He went further. He's trying to do his best, and just went for it, because he knew he was going to lose anyway, but he went for it. But you could see he already was resigned to losing, so let me just try to take him out. He was throwing his best and biggest punches, got reckless, got careless. This small undercurrent in Crawford, which makes him one of the elite greats of all time, is because he could switch on a dime, but also he's a quiet killer. He's the silent one. He doesn't need to be like over the top, really just a big animated personality, and that fools a lot of people. So what he does is he keeps his composure, like he did with Yuriorkis Gamboa when he was in trouble for a little moment there, and he switched it up when I did see Crawford hurt once in that fight, and that was basically it in his entire career. It's very hard to find rounds where you would see Crawford actually lose. So this man is a boxing genius, and by the way, he should get his flowers. The blatant disrespect to Crawford, even going into this fight, the audacity of some of these fake boxing experts, the ones that are paid and they have giant careers wrapped around boxing, and they're telling you all this stuff, and it's all wrong. It was all wrong. So many of these boxing experts, these so-called boxing experts, I say that term loosely, I was going to say that they're wrong a lot. They're not consistent. The ones that were out there just saying that Canelo was just way too big. The marketing, we went over that in the last fight, that made you believe, made a lot of casual fans, or just Canelo fans in general, and some boxing fans, where they sold this mythological version of Canelo that was never real, meaning he was so big, he was ferocious, he was pound for pound elite legend, when he really never wasn't if you looked at everything. That's why I was so convinced he was going to lose, and I broke down exactly why before the fight. They had you thinking, and they had people actually believing, even like a Robert Garcia, a professional boxing trainer, and it's just dumbfounded. Well, Canelo didn't try hard enough. We went over this before. Oh, damn, he tried. He got thwarted at everything he tried to do. Just Canelo was just outclassed on every level. If you're saying he wasn't outclassed, you're in complete denial again. He was outclassed. This guy was never on Canelo on a Crawford level ever. And Floyd and Peebles showed you that. Problem with boxers, the guy doesn't even get off jabs right. How is he gonna beat Crawford? To go in the ring and have people actually believing before the fight that Canelo was just giant Godzilla and Crawford's this tiny man looking up at him was just a brilliant marketing job of everyone who ever invested in the Canelo myth that he's so big and he's pound for pound and building statues. They should have had 2 statues. I saw Canelo was presented with a statue after the fight. Where was Crawford's statue? They should have had 2 statues. They should have melted the one for, they should have melted the one for Canelo and gave it to Crawford and made him a statue. Such blatant disrespect. Why the disrespect? Why the disrespect? Is it a personality thing? I don't know why. But I can tell you this, the blatant disrespect of Crawford's ring genius, boxing genius, masterclass boxing prodigy, because he is. I've been watching this guy for years. This guy has the total package. Rarefied air fighters like this, elite fighters like this, you'll see them come once, if you're lucky, once in a decade. This era had Crawford, where a man, what made him so special is, never going to I'm just talking facts, never going to disrespect and make you think that I'm disrespecting Canelo. He's a really, really good fighter. And that's what makes Crawford so special. He made a really, really good fighter that appeared to be pound for pound to some people, look very ordinary, and he came up weight classes to do it. A weight class he never even fought in. Do you realize how rare this is? A weight class that a boxer never fought in, undefeated, by the way, 41-0, almost 38 years old, fights a younger guy, 2.5 years younger, at least 35. You can't make that excuse. Canelo was younger. And he just made him look ordinary. And that's because Canelo, give him his credit, is a really, really good fighter. And that's what makes Crawford even more extraordinary as a boxer. So you have his psyche, he never lost. Whereas Canelo already was in losing waters, like I said, the rapids and allergies, or he's swimming uphill, you could say it anyway. He's a cascade of water coming down on him, and that is Crawford. And he couldn't appear to do enough, because if he tried to take it to the next level like Spence and get reckless and just try to take him out recklessly, he would have himself, Canelo, been stopped because he was hurt late in the fight. His body language, all of this stuff is psychology. It's about like 75 and up, 80% psyche. Canelo already lost. He's been in the waters where he already lost, so he knows what it's like to lose, and they know when they're losing. He knew he couldn't do anything, and he told you. He went, mumbled, turned to the side, frustrated. Even my wife saw it. She was like, wow, look at him. He's really frustrated. He turned to the side and mumbled to himself, like, I can't do anything to this guy. Anything I'm trying to do, I'm being stopped. I'm hitting a wall. And that is the genius of Crawford. You can never take it away. What you saw, and some of you will appreciate, I know you're pissed off because you've been sold fool's gold, and as Canelo, that was some amazing elite legend fighter, and he's just really, really good. Marketed right, they made tons of money with him. He made, God bless him, made tons of money. Great, it's a great thing. But Crawford is so good, and you'll see years from now how great he was. What he did to Canelo, what he did to Spence. Gamboa is a really good fighter. I can break down a video later on why it fell apart, and it has a lot to do with psychology. Gamboa had all the physical attributes. He had the speed. He was like a mini Mike Tyson. There's flashes of power. He had Tyson in him. He had Pacquiao in him. He had all this cloth in him, all these great attributes that they had, but he lacked mental discipline, and that was why Gamboa, the Cuban fighter, he was really, really good, just didn't live up to his potential. Adrian Broner was really good, but he never really had it. I said on this channel long ago, I don't remember if I said it before he was defeated. I remember I was on a plane and I said, Adrian Broner is not going to be a billionaire. He's not going to be Floyd. It's never going to happen, because I already could tell when I watched him what he was, and he wasn't that great as they were pushing and some people thought he would be. Sometimes I get it wrong. I don't always get it right, but pretty much if I know a fighter, I get all the data, the stats together. Like I said, when I pick stocks and ETFs that track the market and stuff, really good stuff, I get it all together and I predict what happens. And usually I'm right. I just look at the charts. I do it with boxing, go to box records. I get all the data together and I get all the intel. But nothing is better than the eye and what they've done last. So when you watch tapes of these people, when you see that Canelo gets frustrated, when I said before the fight, I gave the keys to victory for Canelo. I broke it down, what he needs to do, and he did it. And I said, in one of those videos, I said what he would want to do is cut Crawford and try to get Crawford out of his game. And I wouldn't be surprised if there's a cut cut. I don't know how I worded it, but you saw that happen. The cut was there, and a KG veteran can do little things and be really slick and make it look like it was not on purpose. But believe me, a KG ring veteran, especially like Canelo, when he wants to, he could make the atmosphere in the ring. He can set up the things to cause a cut if he wants to, and he likely did that in the fight. I have to go back and watch the video again to see how that happened. But anyway, my point is, Canelo Álvarez was never this giant fighter you all thought, and then it was such a shock. All these boxing experts, oh, he doesn't look that much bigger. You could see the shock, the surprise. For me, it was never a surprise. I mean, the most ridiculous thing was, I was saying before the fight, when a lot of you Canelo fans would tell me I know nothing about boxing and he's going to knock out Crawford. Well, I mean, this ridiculous idea was such a fantasy. It was fantastical on its face, and I laugh when every time I bring it up, I think about it. It cracks me up. They had you people so gassed and so pumped up. Even the people that casually didn't know boxing and they were betting on boxing, they had them so pumped up that this little man, which wasn't the case, was going to go in there and get knocked out by Godzilla. Canelo would be Godzilla, and they couldn't believe it. Do you know how much money was lost on this fight? I was telling you all before the fight, even in the thumbnails and titles, Vegas got it wrong. This is not right. It's all wrong. I was telling you. So this is really a great moment in boxing history, because we really got to see how great Crawford was. Let's say if Crawford didn't take this fight, there's a lot of haters, okay, maybe not haters, a lot of people that just didn't want to give him credit, and they were just saying, oh, you know, he didn't fight this guy, that person, he's not that, you know, oh, Errol Spence. Like I said, Errol Spence was a really a good fighter, undefeated, really good, powerful. Just a lot of people were saying that was a 50-50 fight, you know. So if he didn't fight Canelo, we wouldn't be sitting here right now realizing how great. I mean, I knew it. That's why I knew he was gonna be levels above Canelo and do this. And the most messed up thing is, I was worried about the judging. You can see on your own, like the guy at ringside at Netflix had pretty much right to what we were seeing, but the actual judging, a little too close. I'm sorry, a little too close for comfort. Again, we're in a situation where you have to dominate and really beat the audience. A lot of them for Canelo, the alleged boxing referees, judges, there's some shady things going on there, potentially, allegedly, where it creates an atmosphere where you really have to, Canelo is on a home turf situation, meaning you really have to beat him to get the win on the cards, where it has to be just blatant. And anybody, thank goodness we saw the right decision, but anybody that watched this fight that was for Canelo, if Canelo would have got the gift win, or which would have been an outrage, a draw, it would have been absurd. And these people that I dare say, a lot of these people that picked Canelo would have been saying Canelo won. Oh, he won. And they would have been in denial about it, to the point where you see the man get robbed, but then you don't want to give Crawford his just due, his flowers. Canelo Álvarez, really good fighter again, and he's not the person to fight a Canelo. Now, I'm sorry, Crawford without a jab. Now, let's just speaking about the great, rich history of Mexican boxers. Some of my favorite all-time greats: Beretta, Marco Antonio Beretta, you know who he is. Morales, amazing. Canelo, different type of fighter. Canelo, having no jab against a Crawford just wouldn't work. There was a fighter named Julio Cesar Chavez. This man was such an amazing specimen. I would like to break down a whole video about it. He would go in there, Meldrick Taylor, you watched the first fight, and take a boxer, a great boxer, and he wouldn't have to have the jab going at all. He would take such an abuse. It's very rare. You'll see a Julio Cesar Chavez type of fighter, probably in boxing once every 20 years, really. This guy was so great. It's just I'm just tying it in with the Canelo not throwing jabs thing. The guy would use his defense, his offense was to go in first and to take shots, and his defense literally was his head. He would get pounded. The guy would use hardly any type of boxing, but he would get on your chest and put such a pressure, but absorb so much. Sorry, I have no notes in front of me. This is all off the head. He would take so much punishment, and in the Meldrick Taylor fight, he was getting arguably beat on the cards for the first time in his career, but he just stood in there and gave Meldrick Taylor slowly a brutal beatdown that was unbelievable. I mean, Richard Steele, the referee, stopped it with, like, I forget what it was, 2 or 3 seconds, 1 second left. Very controversial ending. That's a whole nother story. But what my point is, only a fighter, if like Canelo can go in there without a jab and just get outclassed, of course, by Crawford, but a Julio Cesar Chavez type of fighter would absorb so much of a beating getting in and getting on someone's chest and putting unbelievable pressure to get to the body. And most of his career, this was effective against a really great boxer, a boxer that normally would be a lot better, but he would put himself in such harm's way, and it was such a rare, he was such a rare fighter, Chavez was, where he could take punishment beyond what anybody else, any other fighter could take. Most fighters taking punishment like that won't last, let alone 3 years in their career. They won't last a decade more. Whereas Chavez was a special specimen in an athlete, where he could literally take his defense and was absorbing all this punishment to finally get to the end and psychologically impose his will on his opponent by absorbing their best, crisp, clean shots. And the guy was just phenomenal that he could do that over and over and over again. He used to come on Don King undercards. That's when I first saw him when I was a kid, on Mike Tyson cards. I was like, who is this guy? I mean, if you're a boxing fan, you didn't give a damn where Chavez was from. You loved him. You just loved him for putting it all out there on a line and putting such a hellacious beating slowly onto boxers and to whoever he fought. He was just one of a kind. Very rare to get these types of fighters. And Crawford is like the reverse. He's like, will come in there and just dismantle you, and you're like, what the hell happened? Whereas a Chavez was more of a, you knew what he was going to do. Pressure, 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 body, 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 inside uppercuts, take a beating to drive his point home, which was the win. He would literally put it all out there. And it's just, wow, the stories in boxing, the styles are just crazy. And I just knew Crawford has a style that would not be unsolved, that would not be able to solve, so it remains unsolved. What Crawford next? What should he do next? Honestly, he should retire, but he probably won't. And then, you know, there's just so much. What is Canelo going to do next? Canelo has enough money. What does he got to prove? Canelo should go out there and get one more win, make a couple of million, just make it look good, call it a day. Because at the end of the day, these guys are taking headshots. They are risking some type of dementia associated, and Parkinson's is loosely, I'm not a doctor, but I've read about this stuff, is loosely related to Muhammad Ali. A lot of doctors, you know, would say he suffered Parkinson's initiated like Freddie Roach by boxing, by getting multiple head blows. Again, we're humans, we're not designed to take these hits, whereas Chavez, again, would take these hits over and over. This man was like the toughest man in the history of boxing, one of them. And usually you see fighters like that break down earlier in their careers, where they take a beating, like Yuri Boy Campus with Trinidad. They can only get away with it for so long. They have a lot of power. They take a beating and they keep going forward. They're a pressure fighter, but you know they're not going to last. They're going to be shop worn and shot fighters. They're going to be done in like 3 years. It's just not a good style for longevity. Whereas Julio Cesar Chavez, the great Julio Cesar Chavez, had a style where he would absorb punishment, and that was a part of his strategy. It was just wild. I just made a short with AI. It's really cool. I wrote everything out. You watch that. We pay respect to the legends: Pernell Whitaker, Mike Tyson, Julio Cesar Chavez. Just if you could check that short out. I'm not going to put it up here. I just made it. It's pretty dope. Flashing back to the 1990s boxing. I know Chavez is 80s too. Tyson is 80s too. I get it. Pernell Whitaker, late 80s, Olympic team, and then went to the 90s. He peaked, and yeah, great fights. But anyway, again, I have no notes in front of me. This is all from my boxing knowledge over the years. I love talking about it. If I misspoke, it's because this is a stream of consciousness video in an old iPhone in my car. I have no notes. I have nothing. This is just, you're getting the real deal. There's no AI right here in this video. It's all me. So anyway, hey, listen. Let's call it a day on this one. Let's call it a nice day. Crawford should get his flowers. Crawford is, I don't care what anyone says, Crawford should be respected, and he should get so much more respect. Again, I don't know why it's not happening right now. Why I don't want to see him stick around like Roy Jones Jr. Stuck around too long, and he did taint his career a lot of it. let's not see something like that. Crawford, please, just, you would be great anywhere. You're such a gentleman. He could get a job, commentating anywhere, doing whatever he wants to do, or maybe he just wants to chill back in the sunset and enjoy his life. The guy deserves it all. I mean, the guy is a brilliant, amazing fighter. I mean, it's crazy. Again, the psychologically, the mentality with the body, the physical together with Crawford, he's like the Superman of fighters, and you rarely get that. Floyd Mayweather was another one, whether you love him or hate him. Floyd Mayweather was another one, and like I said, you don't get these fighters all the time. Once every decade if you're lucky. All right, I'm out.